Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.10.1 in my next small step RP-1 career mode playthrough. And thank you all for bearing with me for the last couple episodes where I had some sound issues. As I mentioned in a comment or in some postscript editing, I had managed to turn down my microphone for a good 3 hours worth of footage, and so I didn't have the heart to just throw it out and re-record it. So you ended up with what you got. With that being done, we are now back to it. So let's take a look at what we're looking at. We have building in the next 13 days. We are going to be deploying our ComSat X network of satellites. These are going to be the X-band geostationary ComSat network that is going to kind of take over from my early ComSat. And that is going to allow for the VisAlt-2, which has an X-band antenna, to be able to get a lot of good data and send that back. Because when you have things that are going lunar or interplanetary, it's actually very easy to target one of the Deep Space Network stations, because basically one of them is going to be visible from far enough away at pretty much any time. So it actually makes it incredibly easy compared to some early remote tech implementations or other times that you have to build very robust communications networks. But with the VisAlt satellite being a low Earth satellite, medium Earth maybe, that requires us to have relay satellites that are going to be more powerful, right? So because there's almost no time when we're going to be able to point an X-band dish at a Deep Space Network station. It's I don't think there's going to be any orbit that has that as a possibility, except for I don't know, for 20 or 30 minutes at a time in the actual time that they go over the top of said station. So yeah, that's what this is about, and it's not that expensive of a mission, so I'm not too stressed about it. But made some improvements of those, and we'll be sending those along. We are still building Apollo 6. I do have another set of lunar landing missions, and I think it's my last one, because we have a crewed lunar orbit with 3. That only requires us to get below 20-degree inclination, so we will have to reduce our inclination a touch from where we're going to be at our satellite. And we have another crewed targeted moon landing that is coming up in Mare Serenitatis. So yeah, we'll be figuring that out, and the lower inclination should actually help me to find it, because I do not believe that was one that I saw on my going into just whatever inclination we ended up once we made the transfer. I don't think I saw that, but we'll see. And that should do that. And also those missions should help me get my reputation out of the gutter. I could cheat it back so that I could start seeing missions, and that's actually why a lot of my missions, my contracts have disappeared. But I'm also I have all the missions that I really need right this second, so I should be able to just kind of get that back when we get to it. My Mars transfer window is in 160 days, so I don't have to worry too much about I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to finish some contract that is going to get me my reputation back before I need to take the contract for Mars again, is what I'm saying. So that is what I'm going to expect on that. So yeah, Apollo 6 is contract farming for cash and profit and reputation. Then we have my ComSat and VisAlt, and then we have an Apollo 7 for the Orb Lab crew. And that is going to be a low Earth orbit Apollo mission that is going to have 2 objectives. One is to send up the crew to the Orb Lab 2 for the full-on 4-crew 60-day duration to get those contracts out of the way. The second objective is to hook the Orb Lab 1 up to the Orb Lab 2, because if you remember, they are in basically the same orbit, but they are not in the same orbit, and I failed to actually finish that rendezvous, so they are just going to be slowly drifting apart in a very annoying way for a good long time. But hopefully the Apollo capsule, over-provisioned though it is, should have enough fuel to latch onto the Orb Lab 2 and make that transfer. But if not, once again, the contingency is that it's fine if I don't. So So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. But before we get to any new launches, it looks like it's just about time for the caustic solar back to enter into the orbit of Venus. All right, so I've spent a couple minutes adjusting our trajectory so that we should be coming, as far as I can tell, directly over our target. And as you might recall, the planet does not rotate very much. Venus has an incredibly slow rotation, so we should, in theory, be able to get fairly close to our intended target here. And we'll just be adjusting a little bit when we get there. But I figure the more we adjust on the way, the better off we are, because it will be cheaper to do so in that case. So just pointing back towards the sun to get the maximum out of our big, beautiful solar panels here. And that keeps us in at a good electric state as we make our final approach. So you look at the target, you can see just that tiny little speck. There's like a little tiny dot here that is apparently where what Venus looks like from this distance. Feels like it should be a lot bigger, so I wonder if it's just that it's shrouded in darkness. There it is, 6 days away, and we see that big, beautiful crescent. You'll notice that we are getting a whole bunch of KCT upgrade points. I am fully aware that I have a ton right now. You can't actually see, but the last time I looked, I had like 50 some. And I'm saving a lot of those to kind of ramp up our third VAB production line rapidly. If not, I would probably actually invest those in science, even though I think that I've been told at one point that I was a little bit overbooked on science. But I want science faster, so I put points in science. I'm a simple man. And there we go. We are inside the sphere of influence of Venus. So let's take a look at what we have here. All right, so as I mentioned, we are pretty darn close to having the inclination correct for our landing. We don't have to do it in one go necessarily, but it is important to get this done eventually, right? So actually, hold on. Let's do this a little bit more. Let's do this a little more intelligently. All right, so I can actually plan for things. I know that comes as a surprise to a lot of you having watched me play for all this time. But yeah, so this trajectory will bring us right over our target, and then we can just circularize and have a nice, hopefully easy time getting down to the surface. Yeah, we'll call it 270 kilometers, and then just lining this up, it looks like we are pretty darn close to the surface here. Well, let's just adjust it just slightly, because I want this to be as close as it possibly can be, so that we don't have to do too much correcting and driving on the ground. And we are using the KTDU 425As, some very lovely Russian engines, and they give us plenty of ignition, so we don't have to worry about that. We have a ton of fuel, so we are just fine as far as all of this is concerned. Using MacLeod to execute the node for us. But yeah, as far as Russian engines are concerned, I actually plan on using some. I have in my tech tree, or my tech research queue, basically the entire series of staged combustion engines to get myself modern, because as I've mentioned before, the node what contains the SSME Hydrolox engine requires staged combustion because it is both a Hydrolox and staged combustion engine. So we are going to need that entire tree, and I have been looking at some of the engines that are in that tree, and I'm like, oh, I've been missing out. All of you veteran players have been trying to tell me, but yeah, there's some really fun engines in there, and now that I'm kind of diverging from just making historical US rockets and just trying to optimize for performance so that I can actually accomplish our big objectives, I'm kind of looking around now for the better options. So I'm probably going to stick a little bit close to our existing like F1 architecture, but I don't see any reason not to start introducing some Russian engines into the program here. All right, so 237 kilometers. As a little bit of a reminder, the atmosphere is at 145, so this should be just fine. And that should not be such a big difference that it's going to make or that should not be so much higher than the minimum height that it's going to make a big difference on our re-entry plans. So let's just go ahead and set up a node to circularize at our parasite. It's been long enough that I had to look that up. But yeah, this is going to cost us about 4,000 meters per second, which feels really high, but that's not unusual. It's why we have so much fuel packed on this thing. So this is all part of the plan. We can execute this node, and then you can see our ship gracefully turning around. The big, beautiful waterfall plumes on our RCS guiding us around. Yeah, so this has been pretty good so far. I'm able to get stuff into orbit of Venus relatively reliably, assuming these engines don't explode or something. Starting to take pictures as we get down. You can see the blue sun, the blue Terminator there. All right, so we are getting close, and yeah, so this mission is, once again, it is based on the rover design that I had for Mars. I'm trying to remember if I ever went in and fixed these wheels. I may not have. Broken, or are you good? Good? Wheel status operational? Operational? Okay, I must have went in and fixed these. But yeah, there was a problem that I had at one point with the wheels breaking. But I think I've set it up so that should be fixed in theory. All right, so yeah, we are burning into orbit, and you can see our target is pretty far out ahead of us. I'm really not concerned about where our orbit is. We are in an 106-degree inclination, which means we are slightly retrograde to the orbit of Venus, but it so does not matter to what we're doing here. What my goal is to get this rover on the surface and drive the darn thing around. If I have to do so with vessel mover or hyperedit or whatever, so be it. Because the last I checked, and it has been a little while, Bon Voyage was not working properly with not RP-1, but with Kerbalism. Well, the Kerbalism implementation of RP-1 was what it was having trouble with, because it wasn't reading the electricity generation quite correctly. And I haven't checked on that, so that may have been changed and or fixed since I last worked on it, but that's when I sent this. That was the situation when I sent this thing out anyways. So this is intended, I will be bouncing around using hyperedit or vessel mover or whatever if I need to. Hopefully I don't, and I can just drive this manually, because we did have that one mission where we made it to the moon, and we were able to have that thing kind of fly around or drive around to its objectives very, very quickly. They were just like minutes away from each other, not hours. But that requires you to actually hit your target in the first place. Like that's the problem, is precision landing is actually a very complicated thing, especially when you're using stuff like this, like this lander here. My best bet for the way to do that on Venus is to dump it into such that we hit the bottom of our orbit, or at least close to the bottom of our orbit, kind of right on top of the rover maneuver node, because that will because basically when you hit Venus's atmosphere, you kind of hit it and then it's a brick, and then you just stop moving. All right, contract complete. Venus Orbital Science Probe. We can continue to gather data from the new satellite, so that was a nice freebie that we were able to tack on to the end here, and that got us a little bit of reputation, which is lovely. That actually has us up pretty significantly in the middle of the yellow, and so we're no longer staring down the barrel at red. All right, how did we do? We did bad. We did real bad, and we do not have control. and we are heading down into an orbit that is going to potentially kill us. No, we're not. We're fine. Goodness. But you can see that we are pretty darn close to where I wanted to be. We are off just a touch, but hopefully we'll be able to fix that on our next pass. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to rotate us around, and then once we have control again, I can fix our orbit so that we do not have an untimely death touching into the atmosphere. There we go. We have a connection through the Pioneer Venus probe. Very exciting. So yeah, this is going to end up being an orbiter itself once I... Oh dear. Oh man, that's real spooky. So cool. I just love the blue color of the sunset terminator. Yeah, so anyways, I just want to fix my orbit a little bit because it's real janky right this second. But it does look like I have used almost all of my fuel. Like, there's almost no fuel left, actually. I've used all of it in my in the orbiter itself, which is not super great. I definitely thought I had more fuel than I did here. Yeah, I got nothing. I got no gas left in this tank. Shoot. All right, well, I'm not sure what the hell happened here. I was supposed to have, according to MacLeod, about 1 kilometer per second left of delta V before I made this landing, but it looks like instead we are going to lose the orbiter and put down the lander just kind of wherever. Probably in this area here, or probably even closer than that, to be perfectly honest. I don't actually see the landing here, but that's just, it's based on how I'm rotated at any given moment, so it's going to be different once I have the actual descent capsule out. So I can try to like skim the top of the atmosphere a little bit, but this is going to be a much airier re-entry than I wanted it to be. So yeah, I have no idea. I thought I was supposed to have 1 kilometer per second left after that node. Instead, I didn't have enough to finish it at all. So no idea what happened there, but is what it is, and we're just going to carry on the mission as best we can. If I get this thing down safely, then I am going, and it doesn't dunk into an ocean or something, then I'm planning on using Vessel Mover to reenact the drive, basically. All right, so we have just touched the atmosphere, so I am going to pop that off. And I'm going to arm this parachute, not deploy it, please. And this has its own independent RCS system, so it should be able to orient us properly. As long as we are moving from the correct devices inside here. There should be an avionics. Rolling from... Go. And that's that, and this thing is probably going to explode, and then I'm not sure if I'm actually going to have a signal. And yeah, we are going to be dropping way early now that we actually have trajectories looking at the correct thing here. So. Yeah, so we are here in the atmosphere of Venus, and we are in the upper atmosphere of Venus's Midlands. I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to... I'm wondering if I angle us down a little bit here, or if I put the heat shield down a little bit, is it possible, I wonder, to skip a little bit, just like to reduce our vertical speed, bring that up a little bit so that we can maybe do our final entry somewhere else a little bit further along. I don't know if this is helping at all. Probably not, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so we are coming in hot. I'll reduce my relative pitch here because we are really coming in real spicy, and there is a very real chance of exploding. Here we go. We are hitting the hot part of the atmosphere. Well, the whole atmosphere is very hot, but we are heating up due to friction, and that stops pretty darn quickly, actually, and then comes back again. Did I skip off the atmosphere a little bit or something? That was kind of cool. Oh, look at those G-forces as we just slam to a stop on the atmosphere. All right, now it's time for me to see if I remember how to actually get the heat shield off of this thing. As we descend down past a kilometer per second. All right, what is our info here? All right, our pre-deployment is at 5 kilometers, and unfortunately this is going to be a dark re-entry. It was not at all what I planned. We are dramatically far away from where we're supposed to be. But, yeah, once again, is what it is. So we are going to descend down, and I'll let you know when we get to something exciting, because this might be a while. All right, we can see the surface, and you can see that we are at about 22 kilometers at this point, moving at a sedate 23 meters per second. We do have, hopefully this is going to take our heat shield off here in a moment. But I'm just waiting until we get to about 5 kilometers, which is when we have the pre-deployment of this parachute, and that should help to get us away from our heat shield and have it not come up and smash into us. See also that I'm using better time warp to make this not be an interminably slow process. All right, we're descending to 5 kilometers, and aero forces and heat have destroyed our drogue chute, which is not great. Wasn't this Kevlar? Yep, it was. Past tense was. Shit. Okay. I don't know what to do about that fact. RCS should probably not be able to adjust our trajectory whatsoever. And I do have control, that's nice. Well, time for the next step, I suppose. That didn't quite work. Well, there goes the heat shield. Isn't that wonderful? Now I'm gonna kick us off of this. We just kind of fly right back up into the... Oh, I want to be down in here. Here we go. Okay, arm these parachutes. Maybe these will work. Yep, so this is not working at all how I had imagined it, and also not how I had how it had tested when I tried this previously. We're at about 3 kilometers. Let's see, how bad is this about to be? Still using Kevlar chutes. They will be opening at 1 kilometer with a deployment altitude of 750 meters. But we are stuck inside our aero shell. Oh, there we go. We are free! Freedom! Yes! Oh, Lord. Okay, so here we go. We are coming down the last 3 kilometers. We are finally free, where it's just this rover in free fall, sailing at a nice 16 to 20 meters per second. We can see the arrow shell is also spiraling down towards the surface. I almost feel like I could fly on this solar panel up here if I only had, you know, an engine on the back to guide us, or if it was a little bit bigger maybe, and I had control surfaces, I could like fly this thing like a little glider. All right, we are almost at 1 kilometer, and so we are coming to the moment of truth now. Turning off my, turning off any... That's one of them. Arm the other parachute, please. All right, they've deployed, and we haven't exploded. It's anybody's guess if I hit the ground and flip over on my back. Probably should have set these up so that that would not be a possibility, but that would have been a lot smarter than what I actually did. And you can see everything is just getting really hot. Like, it's not even... There we go. Parachutes are deployed. They are not comically small, which is nice. I think I had to manually set those to not be comically small, because the automation was going to make it be just like as itty-bitty as they could possibly be. Yeah, so the overheating that is happening is just the ambient temperature of Venus is so blisteringly hot that it is cooking this rover quite a bit. But we are on our way. Just seeing if we're going to have any success here at all. We do have signal, which is so exciting. And we do have both the landing and the rover contracts that could potentially be successful here. I am going to have to cheat a little bit to get this to the correct location, because I think it would take me like years to drive this far. Well, not years in real driving time, but years in Kerbal Space Program driving time. All right, we are just 20 meters from the surface. There's our arrow shell. It looks like it's doing just fine. We have stabilized in a nice up-down position. And we have touchdown. Brakes are on. We have landed on the surface of Venus. Huzzah! Ah, that's exciting. Even though we're in the wrong place, we had a failure in our mission parameters where our we'll chalk that up to like a fuel failure or an engine failure on the our probe. But we do have an orbiter that goes roughly overhead of where we are now, and so we will have signal to be able to get a little bit of stuff done. But we are going to need to be very, very careful. We only have 4 days of electric charge. I did make sure to pack on a tremendous amount of battery. However, we only have so much that we can do because we don't have sun. And it's going to be a long time before the sun gets to us if it's not going in the wrong direction. So let's take a look at what we got here. We are doing mass spectrometry, which is not what I would have chosen, so we'll turn that off to conserve battery. We want to do something fast. So I can just do telemetry, which is nice and expensive. Look at that, 60 science for just that little 5-minute thing. So we're going to do that, and let's see, is there any reason not to just do a surface sample now? Not really. Well, we could do a surface sample, but it's not going anywhere, so there's no real point in doing the sample. But it looks like this is someplace we've already been, so there's no point in doing this one. We could do visible imaging, but again, I want to conserve power as much as I possibly can, he says as he turns on the lights on his vessel. And they don't even really do anything. That's a shame. All right, looks like our orbiter has left us, so I'm just going to hang out for a moment until... There we go. We got another flyby, which got us Venus landing! Congratulations, landing a probe on another planetary body in our system is no easy feat. I think I've read this one a million times, but 720,000 funds and 450 reputation, which gets us all back in the green. We are above 0 on reputation once again. Fabulous. So yeah, we are looking pretty good. We've got 2 out of the 3 Venus landing contracts that I was hoping to nail, and now I want to just kind of play around with this a little bit to see how possible it would be to do this drive. All right, so I have signal again. It is going to be a horrifyingly long drive to actually get there. Go from here. I'm going to control point is forward. Oop. Okay, we are zippy. Where? Forward. There we go. All right, now we are actually pointed in the right direction. Where the heck is our... Oh my gosh. It's so far away. But we are pointed roughly in the right direction now. All right, so we have a 9-day trip ahead of us. 8 days. It's decreasing as it kind of like figures out our trajectory here. But, yeah, I wonder, even if I just drive, like, yeah, even if I just drive directly this way, directly towards the sun, I wonder if we could just get out into the sunlight. All right, so as I am driving around a little bit here, I want to leave this up to you, actually. So where we are sitting right now, I am about 8 solid days of travel away, 9 days of travel away from our actual waypoint. So we are really far off course as far as that's concerned. I used a little waypoint to kind of figure out where the Terminator is and how long it would take to drive to sunlight. And it looks like it would be about 10 hours, 11 hours more battery than we actually have available to us to get to sunlight. So we have succeeded on the Venus landing contract, which is fantastic. We have gotten the Venus orbital science probe, which is also fantastic, even though that one crashed. But that means that we are going to fail the Venus rover contract, or at least not get it on this time, even though we have landed and driven around and transmitted science from the surface. We didn't do it in the right place, and so therefore that's a fail. So I could just accept that loss, and that would be totally fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings too much. It does bum me out that I didn't actually manage to succeed because I had some weirdness with my fuel gauge telling me that I had more fuel than I had. Or I could hyper-edit over to this point and actually take that mission on from there and see if I can do the drive myself. But there's there's actually a pretty big hurry, even if I... Yeah, so I'm gonna need an answer before I have my next episode. So we'll just say that much because we only have 9 days before this thing dies. So I'm gonna leave this up to you guys, and you're gonna tell me how you want me to adjudicate this. Do I hyper edit to the destination and bring this rover around there and call this mission a complete success, or do we chalk it up to the failure of that fuel gauge issue and deal with those repercussions? So let me know, and that is where we're going to leave it this time. So if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.